your Assembly colleagues were unhappy that the notion of increasing the charter school cap was kind of the political football that was played in the Senate. You're an avowed advocate of charter schools. Do you think it was appropriate for the Senate to include that, or do you separate that issue and rather they did not do that?
On the merits of charters themselves, I support them, and I believe that we should have a broad options for families to look at when looking at educational opportunities for the children. We shouldn't take that away, and I welcome charters and parochial schools and innovative school models that allow families those choices. Where I also understand and disagree with is a number of elected leaders who don't have charters in their districts, who don't care about the charter movement, but rather for very political reasons simply use that as a wedge to deny a real negotiation on the merits of mayoral control per se and some of the other issues that were being named. I think that's where, you know, we can't continue to run this state where we're simply just drawing lines in the sand and playing a game of chicken. These matters affect families. They're important to people, they're important to our children, and we shouldn't use them as political hot potatoes. And that's why I also disagreed with the approach. The merits of each of these issues are important. They should all be on the table at the appropriate time in the appropriate way. So
you agreed with the Speaker of the Assembly, Carl Hastie, for saying, you know what, that we're not going to deal in that fashion and the way it came out.
Yes.
Should we expand the number of charter schools? There are still open slots. Is it a matter of the numbers, or is it a matter of a different look at charter schools?
There's a lot on the table. There are different treatments of charters. You get a different per pupil. There are different treatments of them in terms of facilities money. I will be the first to tell you that I believe there's a shared agenda for the charter and the public school community and everybody in the educational world, and that is infrastructure. I don't understand how we can build Yankee Stadium in a year, how luxury housing, 90 floors of luxury housing can go up in 3 months, 5 months. Beautiful parkland and landscapes can be done in a matter of weeks. But we can't figure out a way to rebuild our school systems for the future. Why do we still pump so many millions of dollars into older buildings that are limited per se? Why aren't we building our school infrastructure the way we're thinking about housing for the next 100 years, as opposed to trying to make the last 100 years still work? And I think that's where we should stop fighting. The space wouldn't be an issue if instead of building a 4-story block, square building and calling it a school, why are we building a 10-story tower that allows for innovation, that allows for new spaces, that allows everybody to have the room they need to do the right thing? I disagree with co-locations that cram a closet into a classroom. I think people should, and if a school has an extra classroom, it shouldn't be given to somebody else. Let them use that for a club, for parent engagement, for social engagement of students, be creative, and do what other communities are able to do. We shouldn't limit ourselves. We have air rights and the technology and the ability to build up and provide everyone the space they need.
You know, I would add along to that if you're going to build buildings or building communities and adding housing, instead of just putting up the housing, let's have a view that we need housing, we need schools, we need shopping infrastructures and all those things we never really think about.